Hello, ENTV. It's Michelle Beauchard, the Natural Entrepreneur, here again with the Natural Success Clinic. I'm so excited this week to be here with you and to bring you one of the guests that's in our rotation. This is season 2 of Natural Success Clinic. First season, we went through kind of a round with about 13 different online entrepreneurs, and we had a business desk. A sports desk meets business analysis of on everybody's online offers, and in that process of taking a look at their offer ecosystem, the things that their natural gifts that they've brought to the world to share, and talking about their journeys in implementing, like what their strong why is, what their core offer is, what they do for marketing, how they manage sales, how they deliver service for your clients. We took a look at all the aspects, low, mid, high ticket, how your tech works, all the things that made online business, all the things to do with online business. And when you're an online entrepreneur, you're bringing yourself, your gifts, your purpose to the table to serve. And so today we're going to talk about how important it is for you to be healthy and emotionally healthy and all the things related to that. Last season, because we identified some trends that online entrepreneurs have in terms of, common things that go wrong, we wanted to make sure that you have your natural success in the way that you do it by bringing on folks who are experts. And I've got a core group of people that are working with me now that I just think have excellent content and who are really going to serve you well. So I am ecstatic today because we get to have Alan Muellegger. Alan, come on camera, and we are going to talk with Alan, who's an emotional fitness coach and just is an all-around amazing guy. Thank you so much for being with us today. How are you?
I'm absolutely fantastic. I was getting my camera reset and now I feel good. I'm great. I just got out of a cold plunge earlier today, fireworks for days, and I'm now back to normal temperature so I can function just in time for us to hang out here on ENTV.
Awesome. Well, can you please tell people just a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're at, what you do, and how you got there? Because you have a pretty cool story about emotional resilience. And today we're going to be talking about, breaking down burnout, and how to get from burnout and hopelessness to stoked and motivated. And you are one of the top people in that field to be able to help people with. So tell folks about yourself.
Awesome. So I'm happy to. Let's see. I'm blonde hair, blue eye. No, I'm just kidding. Just by myself. Really, I serve in two ways, two big ways. One is as an emotional trainer, and so what that looks like is for people who they go on stage, they go do their thing, they need to go perform, they need to be on at all times or at certain times. I'm the person they call when they're like, I'm breaking down, I don't know what to do. How do I get myself together before this massive poker tournament, as an example, or before this speech in front of Disney or whatever it is? And so that's kind of one side of things, making sure that emotionally that they're really good to go no matter what's going on. And then the second work that I do is I help coaches who really are massively motivated by making a difference with the tools and skills that they have, but they really struggle with finding a way to make the business work without going into the world of like manipulative marketing tactics and sales stuff that's kind of sleazy and whatnot. And they're the kind of person that they refuse to do it. They're like, I don't want to do those things. I don't want to give promises I can't keep. I don't want to use NLP tactics in sales to convince people to come into my space. I don't want to arbitrarily charge 10 times more than I should because I don't think it's right to charge 20 grand for something that I only feel confident is worth X amount, whatever that might be, right? So for me, there's a big error that's happening in the coaching industry where I desire to help those people rise up and to be able to do what they do to close clients, get paying clients consistently without using any of those strategies. And in fact, using their coaching as the way to close people in their business. So that's the
Oh,
other big thing that I do.
okay. So and you are probably one of the most the ENTV gang is all about service, all about connection, all about being there for each other and lifting each other up in the world. And one of the ways that I've seen you do that is just like serve your butt off. And so can you explain why why that helps. How does that, what's the emotional mechanism that service, actually helps you feel better? Like, why is it then when you feel like you're out of gas, giving more? It's like seems counterintuitive.
Yeah, totally. The truth is that at any given point in time, we are serving someone. And for a lot of people, what they don't know unknowingly is that they're actually just serving themselves. So, as an example, when they're worried about how much money am I going to make, or who's going to buy my program, or what's the right gatekeepy drip value way to give people what they need so that they can be hungry for what I want enough to buy it, etc., all that kind of stuff. It becomes incredibly exhausting because human beings, I really do believe this, that we are designed to want to give to others. We're designed to want to impact others. We're designed to want to make a difference. And in fact, impacting, making a difference, and also giving it our all in the process of doing so, in most cases that I've seen, when it's actually authentic, real service, it actually fuels, has someone feel incredibly fueled. So as an example, like I've run events that have been 3 hours at a time for 2 days, so 6 hours, or I've done a total 8 hour event. I've done that multiple times. And you'd think that, oh, if Alan Muellegger is talking and serving for 8 hours straight, by the end, he's going to be just totally gassed. And the truth is that by the time those 8 hour events are done, I feel freaking fantastic. I'm like, let's do it again tomorrow. And the reason being is because there's a formula to service. There's a way to be in service to others where you're not worried about yourself. You're not worried about your profits. You're not worried about who's buying your shit. Sorry for the swearing, but here we go. We're on the road today. And so it's going to happen. You're worried about, most importantly, how can I impact the most amount of people that I can, and feel totally and completely privileged to be able to do this kind of work. So there's kind of that whole complex there in terms of a frame. But then the second piece, when it comes to really just being not burned out and not drugged through the mud by the act of profound service, it's also, for me, it's this constant act of gratitude. Like, I understand the example, I have an event that's coming up in a couple of days. We already have 20 plus people registered for it. And it's like, the fact that I get to stand in front of 20 plus people for 2 days, where all we're doing is serving and impacting, serving, and people who are going to have breakthroughs, they're going to cry, they're going to have realizations, ahas, etc. Like, that's such a privilege for me to be able to be in. It's an honor for me to be able to be in that position, even though I'm not getting paid for it, even though it's a completely free event. I get so much fulfillment and joy because of the gratitude that I feel for being able to serve in the first place. So to me, it's about that magic formula of, who do you serve? Are you serving yourself? Or are you serving someone else? Because I believe we're built to serve other people, but then also having gratitude in every single moment while you're in service, to me, is one of the most fueling combinations there is.
So what, for the folks that are kind of, and we're real on this show. For the folks that aren't there yet, in terms of feeling grateful for serving and serving and serving and not getting paid, or when those worry wiggles sort of come in, and you've been grinding. I mean, you've been in that spot where the formula that you teach in your boot camp, how long did that take you to craft out, and could you just give some of the struggles you've faced and the burnout places you've gotten to, and how you know that you can go from the burnout to that excitement level?
Absolutely. So I've been coaching for the past 10 years, but in the past 2 years and some change, I went out and decided I'm going to go be a standalone coach by myself, doing my own thing. Let's go. And that the method that I've developed, which I just call the service conversion method, which is essentially just using your service, using service itself as the way to convert people into your coaching business. That method was developed over the course of those 2 years in a frankly desperate trial and error process of trying to figure out, how the F do I continue to have a full-time income as a coach? Meaning, when I say full-time, what I mean by that is, it's the only thing, it's the only source of income I have, and that only source is providing for all of my needs and then some. And so in trying to figure that out, I was like, I'm not willing to do it with manipulative marketing, or rather with shiny shortcut marketing or manipulative sales. So how do I do it? And so in the beginning, when I started, I did a whole bunch of different things to try to get this to work. The first thing that I did was I followed the advice of all these social media gurus, and I was like, I'm gonna go post constantly on social media all the damn time. So I was posting 8 times a week on every single platform, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, with Twitter back then, X later, constantly everywhere. And as I was doing that, it was absolutely exhausting. But I was told if you just keep posting, if you just keep posting, eventually someone's going to want to have your coaching. So I was like, okay, so let me just constantly post all the time, videos, regular long form, color boxes, everything. One client got yielded from that after 4 months of constantly posting at that level. Wasn't working. Then I was like, okay, this is really exhausting, but I was in that state of desperation, as I'm sure many entrepreneurs can understand. And I was like, maybe I just got to go viral. I see all these people that are going viral. They've got, millions of viewers and they seem to be doing fine. So maybe that's what I got to do. So I went to a buddy of mine who's an expert at TikTok and I said, "Hey man, how do you go viral?" And he's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 dude. That's not how it works." He was like, if you want to go viral, you got to post the same video every day for 4 months straight, and then maybe the algorithm will pick it up. And I said, "No, I'm gonna go viral this week." And he's like, "Dude, that's not how it works." And I was like, "Well, we'll figure it out." And then literally 3 days later, I posted a video. It got 500,000 views, which I thought was gonna be my big break because I had so many there was so much engagement. All these people were commenting, all these likes, and I'm like, "Oh my God, 500,000 people have seen my face and me talking about what I want to talk about. That's wild. I've made it. It's done." One client from that 500,000 views, and I was like, "Man." I was like, if this is what this is going to take, I might run
Exciting,
out of
right?
right. I was like, I might run out of people on planet Earth before I get enough clients to come my way. So this is going to be a challenge. So I was like, that wasn't it. And so, and not to mention, my God, going viral, it's like you get exposed to the whole freaking world. So it's like I had one half of people were like, "This guy's great, we love him, more of this, please." And then I had the other half of people who were like, "This guy sucks, he's the worst person ever." So you get exposed to that in that world, unfortunately, but it's what happens. So I was like, okay, this isn't working. And most of the clients that I had, ironically, throughout that time, it wasn't from social media and it wasn't from some viral videos and things like that. It was from word of mouth. It was from people who knew me, people who knew what I was doing. They had experienced my service before in the past. And they were the ones that consistently stuck around and were giving me more people to work with. So I was like, okay, this game over here in the virtual spaces of just desperately trying to resonate with people is not working. This is working. How can I make this work the best? And this being, working with people that I know and working with that world. And I began to then instead run lots and lots of free events. Now, one of the most exhausting things that can happen inside the coaching space is that, okay, we believe that if we just give enough free value out to people, then
Right.
we'll magically start having clients. And so I was like, great, I'm going to serve my butt off, which is where that 8 hour event came from, which by the way, that 8 hour event was completely free. So it was me, going full tilt for 8 hours, totally free. It was exhausting in terms of like the return. Like I can hold it for that whole 8 hours of time. But quite frankly, when the event is over and it yields $0 in revenue, that's where it becomes exhausting because you're like, man, this isn't working either. So I fell into that trap of giving so much stuff away for free that I became totally exhausted. And I was like, man, that's not working either. So giving free stuff away for free wasn't working. Or giving trainings and value away for free wasn't working. Calls away for free wasn't working. I gave over 150 free calls away just to for some perspective. I really tested this. Like it wasn't just like I was like, oh, dang, it didn't work the third time. And
We talk about emotional fitness and resilience, and Alan is one of the most persistent people I've ever met. And he just
yes,
like
I
will
don't
not let it go if he's gonna make this work.
for me, I have to be absolutely certain that something doesn't work before I move on to something else, and then I can go to the next thing. So I gave 150 free calls away. I gave constant free trainings, and that was doing okay, but it definitely wasn't converting people. So I was in a really stuck place, Michelle. I was like, okay, I've done all the posting, I've done all the giving, and there's still not enough money to pay rent. And I was like, oh man, I can't pay rent. I can't pay for groceries. I got a problem. Like it was a real problem. And so I started to recall back to my very first time that I went to my own very first personal development event back in 2017, which was a Tony Robbins event, and it was Unleash the Power Within, one of his flagship events. And I remember recalling on the third day, is when he does the pitch for his program, and his program is $10,000. Well, he does the pitch for that program. And I remember in that room, it felt not like sales at all. And everyone was like, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part. I'm ready to spend $10,000. And they closed, I think, every time that Tony does that pitch, minimum, they drop like $5 million in a matter of 30 to 40 minutes. It's an insane amount of money in a short period of time. And I was like, if that can be done at that level, which by the way, for perspective, Tony speaks to anywhere between 10 to 15,000 people at a time at that event. I was like, if that can be done at that level, how can it be done at this level? How can I do the exact same thing, but shrink it down to a formula that works for coaches in a small format? And I discovered a couple of things that really work in terms of making that process work. The first is that if people can experience really real transformation with you in real time, not gatekeepy, I'm holding back as a coach because you
I'll
haven't
tell you
paid me
that
yet,
later. Yeah.
but real, no BS transformation in real time. What I discovered is that when they really feel what you're capable of, they begin to have an unconscious understanding of how you may or may not fit in their world moving forward. And so I was like, okay, well, what if I just gave people increasingly more potent experiences with me, exercising my skill set at the highest level in a particular formulaic way that wasn't giving too much in the beginning? But example, like if you listen to any piece of music, usually the crescendo is at the end, not the beginning. So if I can do it in such a way, could I use the principles of music? Could I use the principles of Tony Robbins? Could I use a little bit of Alan Muellegger magic in there? And could it work? And thankfully, this method got me a 60% closing rate of people who were in my trainings, which was unheard of in terms of people being there. But not only that, it was beginning to shift people who came in insanely skeptical. So I'm a super high energy dude, and I'm also a white guy. And so what happens is there are plenty on the internet. There are plenty of high energy white guys ready to sell you something. Like it's a normal thing, and it's all over the place. But I'm aware of how I look. I'm aware of what it looks like. So I remember there was this one training that I had. This person came in, and the arms were crossed like this the whole time. I'm doing my thing. I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve. And my intention, anytime I do any service, it's never to sell anybody anything. It's not to convert anybody. It's not to warm up any leads. It's to serve people at the highest level. And if they decide that they want more, then great. And if they don't, awesome. High five. I hope it was helpful. I can't wait to see you at the next one. That's genuinely how I feel about it. But this person was not buying it. She was like, when's the catch? When's the pitch? When is this gonna be, man? You know, like whatever. And the resistance wasn't just in the body language. It was also anytime I asked a question, if it was like a yes or no question, she was like, maybe. I don't think it's a yes. I don't think it's a no. Why can't it be a maybe? And I was like, okay, all right, well, we'll see how this goes. By the end of the training, the person went from this body language to this body language, started to open up. And when I offered an opportunity to go deeper, they were like, yeah, I do want to try. I don't want to buy anything though, but I would like to see what else you've got going on there. And I was like, great, let's do it. Hopped into a one-on-one. Person went like this to like this. They were kind of confused. They were like, okay, all right, this guy's kind of legit, kind of real. And I said, would you want to talk about what it might look like to work together? And they were like, yeah, I kind of do. Let's have that conversation. Have the final call, and they go from this to this. Shocked, awe, and they paid in full and ended up being one of my favorite clients I've ever worked with. So not only does this method have the ability to close people who are warm and ready to go and are a good match, it has the ability to convert people, like change them to
Well,
go.
and how do you feel coming back to your experience as an entrepreneur to finally be able to figure out how to essentially use your natural gifts and interests to attract people to the point where they can see how your gifts and interests will transform their lives, and how did that feel to be able to provide that service? Like,
Yeah, in absolute spiritual breath of fresh air. because for a long time, this is just being really real with you, for a really long time, I had really great gifts. I knew I had good gifts. I knew I was good at what I did. Like it didn't matter who you were, it didn't matter what you came with. If you walked in space with me, you were going to walk in feeling not so great and you were going to walk out feeling fantastic. I knew that's how it was.
That's
But
that's
because
why you do what you do. Yeah.
Right, but because I never got paid, or because it was difficult to get paid, or it was always a fight to get paid, it was a fight to get the business going. I genuinely was looking at my skill set, even though it was world class. I was looking at my skill set and being like, man, maybe I'm just a crock of shit. Like maybe I have no idea what I'm actually talking about. Maybe I'm actually just lame. Maybe all the people that I was growing up with that said, Alan, you need to turn it down. You need to relax. You need to stop being so emotional.
That's
You need to play it safe, take it easy. Maybe all those people were right. And constantly fielding that every single day with a marketplace that didn't seem to care too much about whether I was there or not, that was insanely difficult. And so to begin to get into a system where it's not because I got so good at manipulating and promising things and whatever, but instead it was, nope, there's a way to use the gifts and skills that I have such that people get it and they want to buy more of it. I was like, that is a huge release. So to
well,
me,
and
yeah.
yeah, when I interviewed, last season when we did those 13 interviews across all the different entrepreneur types, and we had all different types of offers, some more concrete, some more understandable, some more woo-woo, some fairly direct and concrete. And it was surprising how similar some of the blockages and sensations of carrying out and trying to make work this thing called online businesses, and how to like it feels almost like you have to bend yourself to rules external. And that's why I really wanted to focus in on natural success, meaning your natural success for you as who you are. And so instead of the world's a mirror and it shows us all sorts of things about ourselves, but for you to bring your signal, your resonance, your frequency, your gift, your focus, your service to the world, you have to kind of like focus inward and get real clarity, and not only have a good key understanding of yourself, but how you react to different things. What was some of the biggest emotional points? You kind of alluded to some of them, but like what was the biggest emotional, since you're an emotional fitness coach, what was some of the big emotional challenges that you came up, narratives in your head or fears, about your worst fears that you come up against? Maybe there's a recent story about something like that, but if you can, you tell us what some of the major emotional push throughs you had to make to be able to break through to your gift, your service.
Yeah. I'll give you one that was it's more I think more universal that people will understand and that people will really experience. And I'll share one that's a little more personal in the process. So, and I'll tie it all together.
Okay.
So for me, I think the biggest emotion that was consistently that I was fighting with day in and day out, was this really nasty combination of hopelessness and anxiety. I literally remember every single morning waking up, and as soon as my alarm went off, heart was pounding and I was freaking out. And I had to literally cultivate and create a 1.5 hour morning routine to let the emotions process and get through the body so I could function normally throughout the day. And then after the anxiety wore off, then it was like, go do my best to work. Then things weren't working the way I wanted to. And then it was like, oh my gosh, this is never going to work, was like the next thing. And so to me, those two, that was a nasty combo for a really long time, was powerful anxiety and hopelessness, powerful anxiety, and just a cycle of it all over and over and over again. So that was the first thing. Did you ask how I got through it, or was it just what were the big things?
Yeah, no, and what was the point? What happened to change that? What?
Yeah, it's a great question. What happened to change it, I realized that anxiety is simply fear of fear of a future that we are hoping doesn't happen. So when we begin to focus on a future outcome that is not the outcome that we want, and we start to stare at that, that's where anxiety comes from. And so for me, step one was, how can I not hope or wish in a or even in some cultures, right, pray for a compelling future, but how can I decide it's going to happen? How can I believe completely that
How can, how can I embody How can I embody the feeling of it already has happened so that it is?
yes, and how can I let go of making any negative meaning towards current results that could point at that future not coming true? So what happens oftentimes is where anxiety really gets high is we stare at a future that we hope doesn't happen, and then we have a what we call a setback. And then that setback, oh, see, that future is gonna happen. I'm gonna die, right? And it creates this whole thing. And so I was like, nope, I'm deciding a different future is going to occur. And by the way, I want to be clear, like just deciding it's I'm making it sound simple. It's simple, it's not easy. It requires conditioning, it requires a processing, right? There's stuff to it. There's a reason I'm an emotional fitness coach. There's a whole bit to getting your system into that place, right? But it's deciding and believing in that future. And the second thing that was the change was, okay, anytime I see any piece of evidence of like if something doesn't go well or does go well, I'm always going to connect how that thing supports the vision I'm going to have. So even if things didn't go well, it's like, well, what did I learn? What was the thing that we came up with? What did we get from this? What was the positive? Like seeking, finding that positive outcome, that positive meaning. That solved the anxiety piece. The whole
And how do you see the connection between when you made that connection to service, and that service brought you out of the hopelessness and anxiety, and just like um taking an action builds confidence, serving reduces anxiety and hopelessness. How did that happen?
You are on it today, by the way. The questions I'm like, she is asking some questions right now. Let's go. You're in the flow. You're tapping in. It's awesome. So, the how service applies it. Yeah. So for me, how service applies to that process, for me, service has become a meditative practice. It's that service for me, when I'm in profound service, I can't be anywhere except the present moment. I can't be anywhere except right here, right now, connected with you to give you everything I got. Like, example, when I do my events, some people think I'm not paying attention. My eyes are literally scanning the entire screen, watching each and every person. I look at people who they seem to be not getting it, or I look at people who seem to be disengaged, or I said something and it had them shrink or had them expand, whatever it might be. I'm watching every single human being. And it's funny, I have people who they'll point at me or they'll smile and they think I didn't see it. I'm like, hey, Cheryl, thank you for sending that. Hey, that I always catch it. And the truth is, it's just I'm being so insanely present because that service process, it's an act of being right here, right now, and being in service. You can't be worried about the future when your whole system is dedicated to the now. You just
I
can't.
totally get that, because even with my family experience of supporting, and the reason why I'm a natural entrepreneur is because I needed to build something around my family and my son with autism, and having to come home and support him. And when you're in a situation where you've been beat down and you're hopeless and you're either anxious about the future or depressed about the past, and the CBT training that they give you, that professional therapists give you, talks about, being in the moment. And that's why not mindfulness works. But I have never thought of service as a meditation before, and that instead of something that you're doling out as a loss leader, and hopefully some of it works, it changes from a loss to a gain, because you are You're letting go of all of the negative. You're centering in on who you are, and you're just being the essence of who you are in the moment, and you can't focus on anything else.
Right.
Okay, so that is how service takes you from burnout and hopelessness to natural success. Okay, so you teach this and this process of using not using service, but employing service as the not only the focal point to raise your emotional fitness as an online entrepreneur, but then also get enrollment. So that's actually the manifestation, the creation of the sale. That's the priming of the pump to the sales process that then will validate that your reality is what you decided it is. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, she gets it.
Yeah, yeah. What's funny is like in this moment, like we've talked about this a few times, and I was watching you work it out. I'm like, yep, keep going, keep going. Yep, yep. I was like, you got it. Let's go.
Smell smoke. So you guys, when you guys come to Alan's boot camp, and when is your next one? It's coming up pretty quick here, eh?
It's coming up. It's this Friday and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Time on both days. So it's a total of 6 hours split up into 2 days, 3 hours, 3 hours. And
Okay.
it's just me spitting. We're not, and it's not just teaching. Like it's not a classroom session. We couldn't do 6 hours of classroom without people being bored out of their minds. There's energy, there's movement, there's shares, there's engagement, there's so there's a whole bunch of stuff. So it's a whole immersive experience for 3 hours and 2 days with
A
me.
workshopy kind of, and they're not just inputting information; they're actually building things in there for their own business so that they can actually take this. So tell us a little bit about what it covers, just as a brief overview, because you're actually like literally giving them the service-based model that they can employ. Like you walk out of the workshop with your own version of your service conversion method for your business.
Yeah. So what we do is in day one, it's all about creating clarity around what I call the 6 essential areas of clarity. And all that is, it's just the 6 essential areas that if you are a business owner and you're here to serve someone or something on this planet, you got to be crystal clear on these 6 things. And we go in depth. We do closed eye processes, meditations, journaling, shares. We really extract as much clarity on those 6 areas for your business. Like example, who do you serve? What do they want? Like basic, but we go in a really deep way. So it becomes very, very well connected in the nervous system. Then what we do is we take those 6 areas of amplified clarity. And then on the second day, we take all of them and we plug them methodically into a funnel system. So you can literally know how to take all those areas that you just put together and say, okay, this one goes here, this one goes here, this one goes here, this one goes here. And if you do it in this order, all of a sudden, and you apply your gifts and skills in this way, it provides the maximum opportunity for people to be able to come into your business. And the fun part, and this is kind of the secret fun sauce about it, right? Is like, this is how you and I met. I mentioned before that there's a 60% closing rate for this method, which is 100% accurate. But then the question becomes, what happens to the 40% who don't buy something? And here's what I really love about this process is that when you profoundly serve other people, when you really show up for them in a really big way, they want to show up for you in a really big way because they realize, oh man, this person gets it. Oh man, this is real. Oh man, this person wouldn't drop me at the first sign of trouble. We're gonna be hanging in this forever. And so when you serve at that level, you don't just maximize what the financial income is, you also maximize the social income, the experiential income, the connections. I can't tell you how many people that I've served who haven't bought my program, but every time I put a post out, it gets 3 or 4 different shares. And those are people who they're not my clients. They're just people who've appreciated what I've done for them so much in the past. Is, hey, check out this guy. He's awesome. It's free marketing, it's free exposure, etc. And so the method doesn't just maximize the sales, it also maximizes the connections and the leverage beyond it because people realize, oh snap, this person's really here to do something great in the world. So we literally, yeah, we take all that stuff, we plug it into that system, and we teach it to everybody. We don't hold back. There's no pitch at the end. I'm not going to pitch my program, pitch my services. And for some people, when I say that, it doesn't make sense to them. They go, well, he's clearly got to get something out of this situation. So why would he be running a free training? And it's like, because I'm so confident, genuinely, this is the truth. I'm so confident that the right people who are meant to work with me, are going to see the reality of what I could do for them in the long term, that they will naturally come my way, naturally, without me having to convince anybody. Here's the number one reason why coaching businesses fail when they scale. Number one reason why they fail when they scale is because they tried to sell everybody and retain everybody. The problem, balloons, the problem with this, okay, I love this, right? The reason this doesn't work is because as a coach, you're constantly evolving and you attract the people into your world that are meant to up level your coaching at that time. But let's say you attract someone into your coaching and they were meant to be there at that time to help you up level and you help them up level. It was a shared awesomeness, okay? And it comes to the end of their contract and you were taught by someone that you need to retain everybody because everyone needs your services no matter what. Okay, so you then retain this person when the reality is that soul contract was over. It was done. It was complete. That person's no longer, they don't need to be in the container anymore. So what ends up happening is there are two realities you could be living in. The first one is where they stay, where you now have this person who is only meant to be there for a short while. And what they're doing is they're having you stay connected to a past version of you that is less apt, less on top of it, less connected, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The other scenario, the other timeline is where you let that person go. And as they release, their life expands and your life expands because there was something about that individual that it was time for them to move on so you could become a more up-leveled version of what you're meant to be coaching on.
Works in personal development, works in relationships, works in business, the same principle.
All of it.
All of it is the same. And so you are literally taking people into themselves, into their natural gifts, into their flow and their service to teach them how to serve hard, serve hard and elevate themselves, elevate the other people. And then that is what aligns the resonance and why you don't need to sell. You can you and what draws attracts the people and brings them in. So you don't ever have to worry about it. And I'm sure that there's going to be some people here in ENTV who would love to join us on, you said it was the 21st and 22nd at
21st and 22nd, this coming Friday and Saturday.
Okay, so we'll be dropping the link. You can register free, Alan, at Alan's bootcamp website there to come to his free event, get the entire service conversion method, experience the elevation that is Alan Muellegger, and get yourself pumped up out of the burnout, out of the hopelessness, because you guys got this. When you are a natural entrepreneur, you're a natural success. So you can just keep on watching, and we will bring you again next week another episode of answering some of the things with another expert here on Natural Success Clinic. But Alan, thank you so much for coming and sharing your awesomeness and everything that you bring to the world. It's amazing, and we're really lucky to have you. And I'm looking forward to having you on again to talk about more aspects to emotional fitness. If you have a particular question or have been struggling with something around emotional fitness and how you're feeling and doing in your online business, drop the problem below. I know I can say that Alan will serve you to his utmost. What are you struggling with? What's on your heart? What's hanging you up? What are you banging your head against the wall about? And we will, answer in and try and chime in with some solutions here. So love you all. Hope you have a great day. And thanks for watching Natural Success Clinic, if I can successfully say it. Bye.